This is the official EFL podcast.
Hello again and welcome to the official EFL podcast. On this week's edition of the show, it's time for another one of our Legends of the EFL specials. We're chatting to this man who scored the most important goal of Hull City's history.
Windass! Quite simply, destined to be from Dean Windass. A clinical volley, a vital step forward, and who knows, maybe that's the moment from the hometown boy that for 104 years of history, the city of Hull has been dreaming about.
So first of all, Dean, thank you for joining us. Can you believe it's 10 years since you scored that goal at Wembley?
Well, God, sometimes it seems like yesterday, then sometimes it seems like 10 years ago. I think it was a memorable day in my 20-year span as a professional footballer, and to do it for your hometown club. I know people say it sounds boring because you talk about the same thing, but it's true. It was just a defining moment of my life, my family's life, and it was just an incredible day for the city. For the basically the companies around Hull. Benefited from Hull City being in the Premier League. I think Nicky Barmby knocked on the head after the game. I remember the interview after the game, going, it'll be a great knock-on effect for the city, and which it was. It was just an unbelievable achievement by everybody at the football club, not just me who scored the goal, but everybody who was involved in that 2008 season. So, for me, it changed my life. Sometimes for the good, sometimes for the bad. But no, it was just an incredible way to sort of end your career, really. 39-year-old, in the 39th minute in front of 87,000 people. You couldn't write it, really. So it was just an unbelievable achievement by everybody.
We'll get more into that as we talk through your career. But if we could just go back to the start of your footballing career, you started part-time on a building site as well, working on a building site. Did you ever imagine that your career would get to the stage it was at that point?
No, not at all. I think obviously being a local lad, going to the old Bulford Park to watch Hull City as a 6-year-old when my dad took me, that was my dream as a little boy, really. Growing up in Hull was always to be a professional footballer. Of course, yeah. Sometimes you are born with a talent. I believe that. I believe that everybody's born with something, and I didn't envisage what would happen to my life. But as a young boy, just my dream was to be, first and foremost, to be a professional footballer, and second, obviously, to play for Hull City. So when I got rejected as an 18-year-old, bear in mind that in them days you trained on Tuesdays and Thursdays as a 12, 13-year-old kid. And to try getting on the books of Hull City, they didn't have scholarships in them days, and the first and foremost for me was to try getting an apprentice, or YTS as they call them, and I managed to do that at the age of 16, but then obviously managed to get released at the age of 18. So to come out of it in the space of 2 years playing non-league football for North Ferriby, and then obviously working in a factory, and then working at Bird's Eye where my mum used to work, and then obviously finding myself to work on a building site for my mate. If you would have said to me that you're going to score the goal at Wembley when you're 39-year-old, I'd have laughed at you. I would have. I always thought that I was still good enough to be a professional footballer, but at that time, when Brian Orton let me go at 18, looking back now, of course, it was the right decision because I wasn't physically strong enough. I was a young boy. Was a late developer, and I was gutted. I was absolutely devastated because I thought, well, that was my chance over. But to get the second chance, I always used to say to my kids and to the people when I wrote my autobiography, I didn't want to go back to that building site. So, I was never going to give it up. Really. I was going to work tirelessly to improve my fitness, improve my strength. Yes, I had the football ability. Yes, I had the football brain. But I didn't have the physicality, and once I got that second chance to obviously go back, 2 years previous, I'd been released by Terry Dolan. I was never going to let it go.
And you mentioned there in terms of the physicality that you had later in your career. Did you have it when you did get back into professional football when you were 22? Is that what sort of changed your career at that point? Did you believe that was something which needed to be added to your game?
Yeah, because I was a little. I don't know. I think at the age of 18, I was 9 stone. I was a really late developer, and when you become obviously when I got signed as a professional footballer under Terry, you're training every day. You're getting fitter. You're starting to grow. So I started to grow, obviously physicality wise. Like I said, my football intelligence was always very, very good. Terry actually said this. He's a very good friend of mine now, and he always said that the first day that you trained on that Monday, I made my mind up. I didn't know that at the time, obviously, but to train with professional footballers, you go into the next level, and you're training with good players who you're not used to training with. And yeah, I was on the same wavelength, maybe a little bit more better than some of them professional footballers in the football intelligence wise. So Terry spotted that straight away. All I needed was the fitness, and that would come obviously by training every day, doing the right things, and that's basically what happened to me. Really, I started to grow. I was very, when I was apprentice, I was always last in the running because I wasn't strong enough to sustain the running. But then when I got stronger and stronger and stronger, I become, when I was non-league footballer, I knew that was my weakness. So I used to go running every day around after I'd come off the building site. I'd take my working boots off, and I'd go out running on the streets of Gypsyville. Really, when I lived in Gypsyville, around the park, and that stood me in good stead. Obviously, when I started training full time.
And with that background of playing non-league before you actually got into fully professional football with Hull City, did having that experience of playing, against men in your youth career, did that really help you as well? In terms of, because obviously you had a reputation of being, quite a physical player as well. Did that sort of ground you? Do you believe when you actually got to be a professional footballer?
Yeah, I think that stood me in good stead. Obviously, the best thing that ever happened to me was getting released. Looking back now, because maybe if Brian Owen would have given me a pro contract, probably would have lasted 2 seasons, and then gone back out of it, and then gone back into non-league. So to come out of it and then, as you say, start to play against men, which is very physical in the North Eastern Counties League. But I had that in me anyway. I had that in my locker anyway. I had that nasty streak in me. When I crossed that white line, I always had that in me. And obviously, when you become stronger and then you're playing in the professional league, you've got to be physically strong. You've got to be mentally strong. And bear in mind, in them days, I signed as a centre midfield player. I didn't sign as a centre forward. I signed as a centre midfield player. Obviously, good vision, good range of passing. I was scoring goals from midfield, and then subsequently, when I become a centre forward, Terry basically said that we've got nobody else to play against Plymouth Argyle on Tuesday night because Steve Moran and Chris Hargreaves were injured, who were our 2 centre forwards. He says, I want you to play up front. But I was always sort of a good finisher in training. I'd always stay behind and do extra training. You could never get me off the training ground. And when I obviously then become a centre forward, the first season I played for Hull City, up front, I'd scored 17 goals and never played in midfield ever again. So, that physicality where, in them days, centre-halves could come through the back of you, could kick you, and you've got to be brave. You've got to, you see a lot of footballers flicking it, but my strength was holding the ball up. And you've got to be, as Terry said to me, you've got to be prepared to get kicked, to create fouls for your team. But centre-halves were nasty in them days. They just wanted to smash it. But I handled that quite well. I knew what was coming, and the more experience I got, the better I got. And the physicality then become very strong. But my football intelligence was getting stronger and stronger, and I was maybe 2 or 3 moves ahead of anybody really at some stage in the 90s, and then that's when it took me to the next level.
Yeah, I spoke to Gary Taylor-Fletcher last week, and he had a similar sort of experience with going non-league and then going professional and making that sort of step up, and being sort of like a physical presence. Do you believe that stands you in good stead with? Well, I suppose like he did as well, with the fans as well, that really got you on side with them, I suppose, didn't it? Knowing that, that you were really fighting for that shirt.
Yeah, listen, when I played in midfield, you could tackle in them days then, couldn't you? But, I was always, like I say, I was always had that in the locker where I was a nasty, I could leave my foot in, I could mix it. But then when I become a centre forward and start scoring goals, being a local boy, it was easy because, bear in mind, I played in front of 12,500 was the biggest crowd I played at Bulford Park against Huddersfield Town, the local derby. And, we ended up winning the game 1-0. And, that was probably the biggest crowd show. But, in the main, we're playing in front of 3,000 or 4,000 fans at Bulford Park. And they took to me straight away once I started scoring goals as a centre forward. I was a local lad, so it was probably easy for me. But that stood me in good stead really all my career, is that once I crossed that white line, I'd do anything to win a game of football. Not in the sense of going round breaking people's legs or elbowing people in the face. It was just that physicality, fair physicality, and going to win your headers. I was very good in the air. I was 5'9", 5'9.5", but I had a very good spring. I could. People say about Les Ferdinand hanging in the air. I was quite good in the air in that sense. So I'd win a lot of headers, a lot of flick-ons from a teammate. But my main priority was, listen, I always turn around when I'm on the after dinner circuit. I wasn't the best footballer in the world, but I knew what I was good at. Say that to old Josh now, I was a footballer, do things that you're good at, do things that you can't do. And my main aim was, I never had any pace. I was always a strong runner. But my football intelligence got me away from centre half. But in the main, I knew my job. Hold the ball up, bring your teammates into play, and get yourself in the box. And that's what I focused on all my career.
And looking back at that time with Hull City, that first spell, how difficult was it, with the connection that you had with the fans at the time, to leave the club then and move on when, obviously you were so revered at the club already?
Yeah, listen, it was out of my hands. In them days, in 1994, when Terry rang me and said, we've got to sell you because the club are in financial situation and they were going to close the gates at Bulford Park if they don't get some money in. So when Aberdeen came in for me, I didn't really have any choice. It was one of them situations in them days. I didn't have an agent. Terry took me to Aberdeen in the morning on the flight to meet Roy Aitken. Basically the deal was done by Friday afternoon. I got told what money I was earning. I got told what the club had get financially. So I think, yes, the supporters didn't want me to go because I was scoring goals and playing well. But they knew the situation of the football club. And, with Martin Fish, the chairman, who got a lot of stick in them days, which was uncalled for, I thought, in my opinion. But his hands were tied. They didn't have any money. They were going to close the gates. They got to keep the club afloat. And, selling me kept that club afloat. And, so I was quite proud of that. Yes, never left Hull before, so I was open-minded. I didn't know I was married at the time, and Josh was only 2-year-old, so moving to a different environment, trying to get your family settled and get a house, and moving to basically from League 2 football, Division 2 football, to the Scottish Premier League was a big jump.
I want to touch on that as well. What is it like to go, to have that sort of culture shock? Because, growing up with Hull City, your hometown team, but then going to somewhere which, for domestically is so far away, in terms of, Britain, is so far away from where you're from initially. I imagine it's a complete different lifestyle up there compared to what it was like in Hull.
Yeah, because Aberdeen had just won the Coca-Cola Cup, so that the city were buzzing. Roy explained to me that there was always third place behind Rangers and Celtic at that time, and he wanted to get into the second spot or win the league. That was his main goal. Obviously, after winning the cup, he obviously watched me over the years. Admired me obviously because he signed me, and he sort of said, I'm bringing you as a link man, as they call it, a number 10 now. Where I was very clever, I was cute, I knew my way around the football pitch. But then you're playing against international footballers. Gascoigne was my hero, and then next minute, I'm watching him on DVDs, and then next minute I'm playing against him. And it was just a massive, massive jump. But I was a very confident lad. I was very mentally strong. I knew I was good enough, so I took it like duck to water. The bigger the occasion, the better I played, and it didn't faze me. Anything didn't faze me. I wasn't nervous. I remember scoring on my debut at Pataudry, and as soon as I scored that goal, God, it was amazing how the supporters took to me. They knew that I was passionate. They knew that I'd give everything to the cause. And like the Hull City fans, Aberdeen fans were absolutely incredible. Even now, I'm 50-year-old, and if I ever go back there, I never buy a drink. It's just incredible how they took to me. But like I said, the one thing that I did right through my football career is when I crossed that white line. I've been a supporter when I was a kid, and you want to be entertained. People said they modelled you on Gaza a little bit by being daft or being silly, but if I played with a smile on my face, I played better. I was never as good as Paul Gascoigne in my wildest dreams, but I knew what I was good at, and the supporters, for some known reason, they took to me like the Hull City fans did, and they knew that this lad from Hull, I haven't got a clue who he is, and then become one of the favourites, and it was just amazing transformation of being a League Division 2 footballer to a Scottish Premier League footballer. Started to score goals, started to be a bit of as they said it as a bit of a cult hero with the supporters. But I was normal. I always say that in them days, you could go for a pint, but obviously when Josh was a 2-year-old, me and my wife used to go out on a Saturday night after games, win, lose or draw. I didn't go out when we won and got all the adulations if I scored or whatever. I'd go out if we lost. And supporters would say, oh, you were crap today, Dean, or you were rubbish today or whatever. And I'd say, yeah, but you've worked all week, you've played a game. Sometimes you play well, sometimes you don't. Sometimes you win, sometimes you don't.
Yeah, but I suppose you knew you put that effort in, didn't you?
Yeah, I knew. Hey, listen, you can't play well every week. But I knew that once I crossed that white line, I'd give 100%. And the supporters, that's all they ask for. I think now I'm a supporter now, and when I watch football, all you ask for is to wear, play for the shirt. These supporters are paying your wages, so they expect you to give everything, and that's all I tried to do. I was a normal lad. I wasn't a big time Charlie. I was just a normal kid. I knew where my roots was. My dad always used to say to me, don't be big-headed. Be who you are, be yourself. Sometimes it got me into trouble by being myself and probably being too honest. But that was just my character. That's just the way I was brought up by my parents. And always respect people. Always say please and thank you. Never look down at people because we're all equal. Yeah, you're a professional footballer. Yeah, you get paid a little bit more money than the normal lad in a factory. But being that normal lad in the factory, and I respected everybody, and I appreciated everything that I got.
And of course, if we move it on to, one of the more famous incidents at Aberdeen, which I think most people who followed your career, know you for, as well, is the famous 3 red cards in one game story. Just tell us about that, obviously, in the cleanest way possible.
Well, no, it was one of them situations where we were struggling at that time, and Roy was under pressure, and he basically said we need to win on Sunday against Dundee United. It's live on Sky, and I was pumped up, I was fired up. I wanted to do well for my manager and my team and the supporters, but it went drastically wrong in the sense of that. I was 24-year-old, and I was learning the game. I get booked very early on in the game. And then obviously I got booked, and then we're losing, I think, at the time, 2-0. And I knew Roy was under pressure. And, I got my second yellow, which was a red. Then I abused the referee, verbally, which was, looking back, was the wrong thing to do. And then obviously I punched the corner flag as I come off the pitch. I lobbed the corner flag on the floor. So it was a learning curve, and, they pulled me in the office and ran the riot act. We're reporting you for the 2 tackles, which are a red card. Reporting you for calling the referee, whatever I said. And then the incident with the corner flag. So they give me 3 red cards. I got an 8-game ban. I got fined 2 weeks by the club and 2 weeks by the SFA. And the worst thing for me wasn't about the money, wasn't about the 3 red cards, is that, Roy got the sack the next day, and I felt as though I'd let him down. I felt as though that, it was me that got him the sack. He brought me from League 2 football into an environment where you're playing against international footballers, against Di Canios and Van Hooijdonks and Andres Tom and, Gaza and McCoist and Drury and all these superstars in them days still playing for Scotland and Di Canio or whoever. And so I felt as though I'd let him down. And so that was a bit of a low in my career. Got a bit of stick from Aberdeen supporters, which was rightly so, because we got beat 5-0 that day. So I'd let my teammates down and I'd let my staff down. So it was a tough time in my life, really, going to training. And I had a Mercedes car with Dean Windass on the side of it, sponsored by, obviously, Tulloch Recruitment, where, the lad called Terry Allen, who was a very good friend of mine, that had a local business, and he sponsored me. And so people knew I was driving around the city with, because obviously my name on my car. So I was getting a bit of abuse because what I'd done, which was rightly so. But I knew that I'd let everybody down. So you got to accept the good and you got to accept the bad. But I learned from it. I learned from it, and subsequently, Roy got the sack. Alec Miller came in. Keith Baconshaw was temporary charge. The one thing that disappointed me, that they wouldn't let me train with the first team. I had to train on my own in the afternoon because I had 8-game ban when Alec Miller came in. Didn't see eye to eye with Alec Miller. Personality clash. But I got myself really fit. I trained in the afternoon every day with the fitness coach, Stuart Hogg. Become a family friend of mine. He used to train my wife because my wife was a runner. And I came back super fit. And when I came back, I played against Motherwell, my first ever game, and I scored the goal. We won the game 1-0. And I thought, right, I can get my career back on track at Aberdeen. But it wasn't meant to be. He kept leaving me out. I was on the bench. We clashed. We had a few run-ins. We had a few arguments in the office. And I thought, my time's up. My time's up. And he wanted to sign Craig Ignat, which eventually he did. And I wasn't in his plans. And that's just the way football goes. And that is probably the reason why I left Aberdeen. My wife didn't want to leave Aberdeen. I didn't want to leave Aberdeen, but things happen, and that was the circumstances.
You say you hold yourself responsible for that, though. But do you believe you had to play like that, though, on the edge, going into games?
I had to play on the edge. Listen,
like the likes of Wayne Rooney, perhaps, who had to play in a similar sort of way recently. He reminded me when I played. Yeah, listen. Sometimes you go over that edge. But I had to play on that edge to play well. I couldn't be a nice footballer. I always used to say I didn't want my own teammates to like me. So I didn't expect me to put. In them days you'd wind people up. Centre half would, try kicking you and you'd wind them up, and but then you'd never be with them afterwards. It's just the name of the game in them days. Nowadays it's not like that, is it? Everybody's nicey. But, when they first ever brought out shaking hands before the game, I disagreed with it. I didn't want to shake hands with the centre-half or I'm going to have a ruck with, or I'm going to get kicked, or that he's going to kick me and I'm going to kick him, or he's going to elbow me or I'm going to elbow him. Why shake hands before a game? Shake hands after the game.
So I disagreed with that when that came out, because that is the way that I played. That's the way, that was my temperament. So playing on the edge made me play better. Yes, sometimes you go over that. I see Wayne Rooney, and I always remember my wife saying to me, she knew. She knew that I was on the verge of getting sent off. I'd always push the barriers. I'd always try managing the game with a referee. Away players used to go, Windass is running the game. The referee knew when I was on that team sheet. He knew that he was up for a game, because he knew that the way that I played. But I was never going to change the way that I played. Yes, you can curb it, but sometimes, like the Aberdeen Dundee United situation, sometimes you make mistakes, but you've got to learn from them. But sometimes you don't learn from them. Sometimes, you get that frustrated in games that things are not going well for you, and sometimes you go over that, you go over the mark. But it's just the way that you are. It's what you're installed in, and that's the way that I played the game.
But if you look at the way the game's going now, do you believe you played in the right era? I mean, could you have played in the current, if you look at the Premier League now and in the Championship now, could you have played to the same level in the current environment in terms of how referees manage a game nowadays?
No, not a chance. Not a chance. In them days, you had cameras, but now it's Big Brother, isn't it? You see everything. In our day, from corners, you could stand on people's toes. You can nip people from behind. So the lad who's marking you in the box wants a reaction to hit you or punch you or whatever to get a penalty. You do that now. I get a 3-game ban for standing on somebody's toes or nipping somebody from behind or pulling somebody's hair or trying to do things to make them to react. So not a chance. I always say to Josh now, I couldn't play now. Not just me. I think there's a lot of players who couldn't play in this era. So yeah, I was in the right era, but there was a lot of tough men in my era. There was a lot of hard men. So they'll probably, whoever you interview next, they'll probably in my era probably say the same thing. But the game's changed. Obviously, is it for the good? But that's just. Life moves on, people move on, and so no, I couldn't play today.
Did you notice though in your career itself, throughout it, did you notice how the game sort of changed? Did it develop, obviously towards the end of your career when, you had that spell with Hull in the Premier League? Obviously, I take it you noticed there that there was more scrutiny, I suppose. Yeah,
you knew that there was, as you say, you knew that every camera was on you. You see players now, putting their hand over the mouth. Because you're getting, people lip reading, it's just gone to the next level. It wasn't like that when I played for Middlesbrough in the Premier League. You could tackle in them days in 2001. You could make tackles, yes, centre-halves couldn't kick you from behind. That rule changed, which was better for us as centre-forwards. We used to say to centre-halves, now we can kick you can't kick us. It was one of them situations, but you could see the game changing, like, for the better as well, in the sense not just on the pitch, off the pitch. I was a great professional. I worked very, very hard. People always used to call me fat. I was never ever fat. I always used to fight my weight, but I was never ever fat. I always reached my targets. I always reached my body fat. I did the right things. People say you go for a beer. So did everybody in that era, but at the right times. You asked any manager that I played under. I was a good trainer.
Well, I suppose it's testament as well with the fact that you had so much longevity in your career.
Until I was 40. Yeah, because obviously then, at Middlesbrough, that's when I found out the diets and the good food and how to live your life. I was in an environment where I was with international footballers. I learned very quickly when I was at Bradford City. Dan Petrescu come to the football club. Benito Carboni came to the football club. They educated me so much how to live your life. So the slag foreign players coming into the country, for me, it was the best thing that ever happened. I learned so much from them too, how to live my life. I never had a day off. So if we had Wednesday off, I'd go for a jog. I'd go to the gym. I'd have a steam. I'd never have a day off ever. You know, in them days you train Monday, Tuesday, you'd be off Wednesday, train Thursday, Friday, you play on Saturday. Dan Petrescu said to me, never have a day off. So I would come in on my day off on a Wednesday with Dan Petrescu and stretch, jog round the pitch, stretch 30 seconds on your groins, 30 seconds on your other groin. You know, he learnt me so much how to eat, how to live your life. And then when I went to Middlesbrough, then you're in the environment of Alan Boxic. You know, Juninho came to the club. Paulins was captain, played at the highest level. You know, God bless him, Hugo Ekiog was an unbelievable pro. We had an unbelievable group of men who taught you how to live your life. You know, don't get me wrong, we used to go out for a beer after training, you know, on a Tuesday, but then Wednesday you go and you do the right things, getting prepared for the Saturday. So people used to go, oh yeah, he was a big drinker in them days. No, I wasn't. You know, that was just the culture, but I wasn't. I'd do it at the right times. You know, I'm on the circuit now with Ray Parlour and Paul Mason, where they had that culture in them days. But on a weekend, they'd be the best players. You know, Arsenal would be the best team, even though they had that stigma of this drinking culture. But they did it at the right times, so they'd do it, as they called it, the Tuesday club. But then they recover on a Wednesday, and then they'd be the best team on a Saturday. That was in them days. Now it doesn't happen now. It doesn't happen. You know, my two boys are teetotal. You know, Josh doesn't drink, Jordan doesn't drink. But do footballers drink anymore? I think it's good for the game. You know, but in our day, that was just the way it was. But you'd do it at the right times. And, you know, I was out.
Sorry. How did it make you feel though when you heard, you know, the opposition fans obviously, you know, taunting you, calling you fat so and so consistently throughout your career? Does that inspire you? Do you thrive on that?
It inspired me because my kids used to say, I remember Josh and Jordan saying when they were little boys, even when in the 90s when I was at Hull, I had a Wayne Rooney sort of build. You know, I was a stocky lad. You know, everybody used to call Wayne Rooney fat and take his gear off. He was ripped. You know, I wasn't rich, but I wasn't fat. And, you know, don't get me wrong, I had to train. I had to train every day. I used to have to watch what I eat because I had that in my locker. If I didn't, I then would become, you know, now I'm 50-year-old and I still train now every day. I go to the gym every day. People say, you're fat now, and no, I'm not. At the age of 50, I'm quite toned. But when they called me fat, my kids used to go, Daddy, why do they call you fat? And I'll say, do you know what, son? When the opposition fans stop calling me being fat, you fat by B or whatever, I'm not doing my job properly. And the biggest inspiration for me was when I'd come out of grounds and I'd scored the winner or played well or we'd won the game. In them days, he'd have autographs, he didn't have mobile phones. And they'd say, can you sign me programme or whatever? And there'd be opposition fans and I'd say, well, I bet you'll call me a fat B today. And they go, yeah, we did. But I wish you'd play for us. That inspired me. That sort of went, yeah, all the time they're calling me a fat whatever. You know, then they're jealous. I'm not doing my job properly. So you carry on and slag me off, because the more they slag me off, the more inspired I got, the better I played. So when I scored the winning goal and I got my belly out, you know, the way supporters were fuming. I remember once we played Rotherham United, and it was the same bloke. I'd love to meet him now. He must be the nicest man in the world. But at the end of the day, he was the most Dean Windass man in the country, I think. And every time he used to play, he used to sit in the same seat, and he would absolutely abuse me. He'd go, "You fat blah blah, you this that and the other, and blah blah blah," and no disrespect, he'd be about 17 stone. And I reacted to him by going, whoa, like not being like clever or whatever, but he's calling me fat, and I pointed him to say, have you got any mirrors in your house? And he wanted to kill me, this lad. He wanted to get off his seat and kill me. But that was just a bit of banter. But then the referee pulled me and said, Dean, just stop that. But he's okay to abuse me, but I can't have a little bit of banter back. But that was just part of the game. That was part of the banter.
And yeah, I suppose part of the fun as well.
Listen, it's a bit of fun, man. You know, you have a bit of banter with the opposition. You know, I'm not going to mention his name, but a centre half who couldn't stand me. until this day, I don't think he likes me because we used to have banter on the pitch. You know, I've never been racist in my life. I've never sort of, you know, criticised anybody, but I'll have a bit of banter with you. I'll always say, "Oh God, you're this, you're rubbish, or you're that, or you know, I've been with your girlfriend, or this, that, and other," trying to wind them up. You know, I'd never been with his girlfriend, but I didn't even know who his girlfriend was. But that was the banter that you'd have between players to get a reaction from the centre half. But then you come off the pitch and you shake hands and you go, "I was just a bit of banter, don't worry about it." But on this occasion, this player didn't take to me, which was fine. No, not a problem. It doesn't matter to me. But you know, I'd get dogs abuse. and then I go for a pint with you afterwards.
You
get on with it.
You give as good as you got, I suppose.
Oh, without a doubt. Listen, I too.
Who was, if you can sort of like reveal it, who did you, in terms of not people liking you, but who did you get under the skin of most in terms of in your playing career? Who did you see at the time consistently who thought, I can really, you know, intimidate him and affect him by what you actually say to him, you know, by, you know, sledging, I suppose? Martin
Keown. I could get under Martin's skin. I used to, I didn't know Martin Keown then. I know him now. He's a friend of mine. We played golf together, or we played golf or whatever. But Martin was one of them where I could wind up, and I knew that he wanted to kill me, basically. He was just one of them lads where he was an unbelievable pro. It was one of them. I didn't know him personally. I didn't know his character, but he was just one of them centre halves where I'd always pull onto him. Because you had Sol Campbell next door to him, or Tony Adams. Tony Adams, for me, was probably the best centre half I've ever played against. But in the day when Tony retired, then there was obviously Martin and Sol. Now Sol Campbell is a unit. He was a big man. So physically, probably I couldn't get the better of him because he was stronger than me. So I'd always pull him onto Martin. It was just not that it was the weakness. It was just that I thought that I could get the better more of him than I could of Sol. But I did that right from my career. I'd always before the game or in the week, who am I playing against on Saturday? Who could I get the better of more than the other? I'm not going to pull on Des Walker because I'm not going to beat him for pace. But I'll pull on the other one because he's going to fight me. I liked centre halves who wanted to fight me, or so I could back into them and get free kicks and bring people into play. I'd never pull on the quick one because I'm never going to get in behind you. But I could probably do better with, as I called, so-called, the one who was going to fight you. So I'd pull on the one who wanted to ever go, or wanted to ever fight.
I suppose he had that reputation as well, didn't he, of someone who was a bit
Martin wanted to win everything, and that's, listen, he was an unbelievable centre half. I'm not criticising that lad. He was a great player and had an unbelievable career. But it's just one of them situations where it was, he's the one that I probably could wind up, and that was the case sometimes. But sometimes you get the better of you, because he was an aggressive centre half. He was a good defender. Listen, he played at the top level all his career, so. Another one who's probably one of the best centre halves I played against. But that's, you've got to be clever sometimes, and that's the way I tried to play. I had to do things to win a game of football, and so Martin was one of them really.
Moving back to your career now, going to back to Aberdeen, and then you moved to Oxford. If you can just tell us how that came about. Obviously, it was a big money fee that they paid for you at the time for a club like Oxford, wasn't it?
Yeah, I think. Sorry, I was having a cup of tea then. I always look at it now. Obviously, the Aberdeen thing was coming to the end. I was on the golf course. Mally Shotton was the manager of Oxford. I played in the 90s with Mally Shotton. He was centre half for us. Then when he retired, he became the youth team coach at Hull City under Terry Doyle and Jeff Lee. Then obviously he was a legend for Oxford United. in the era when they won the, I think it was, can't remember what they called it then, the Milk Cup or the Worthington Cup, whatever it was, when Oxford won with Briggsy at the back, another nasty man who I used to play against in the 90s. And he rang me up and he says, obviously, you've become available. Would you want to sign for Oxford? And I was in the Championship. And they paid a record transfer fee of $475, which I think still stands now. So I've never played in the South before. I was always in the North. I was a Northern boy. Obviously, Helen was pregnant to Jordan at the time, and I'd said, "Look, we're leaving Aberdeen. I've got a chance to go to Oxford United in the Championship." And again, I signed as a midfield player, but I've been playing up front as a number 10 for Aberdeen. Scored a lot of goals, but Mally sort of saw me as a centre midfield player. I played a couple of games in midfield, scored on my debut against Bristol City. So then again, the supporters took to me. But then I sort of had a chat with Mally. I said, look, I want to go up front. I want to play up front. So, yeah, and listen, on the field was unbelievable. Oxford United fans, once again, took to me. I was scoring goals for fun. I probably put my name on the map when I scored against Chelsea at the Manor Ground in the FA Cup, and we nearly beat them. And Frank Leboeuf scored a penalty in the last kick of the game. Basically, Kevin Francis, the big centre forward, he brought down Vialli, and Leboeuf scored. And then we got beat 4-2 at Stamford Bridge. Scored a penalty at Stamford Bridge. Played really well in both games. So that sort of put me on the map a little bit. But as in terms of living there, I had a lovely house. I found some lovely friends, neighbours. Josh put in school in Bicester Village, but my wife wasn't settled. She just had Jordan in the John Radcliffe in Oxford, and it was a tough time. It was a tough time for my family, but I was doing really well on the pitch. But I was coming home every day, and my wife said, "I'm not settled." And listen. People listen to this interview, the most important thing is your family. If your family's not happy, then you've got to do something about it. And, I went to Mally and he didn't want me to leave. But I knew I was getting a bit of attention from some other clubs because I'd scored 18 goals, I think, in the Championship. And it was a short spell. But again, Oxford United made a massive profit on me when I went to Aberdeen for 950 grand. So they made a reasonable profit. I left Oxford under a bit of a cloud because they were near the bottom of the league, but I was playing well. People didn't realise about the family situation. And then Paul Jewell came in for me. So from me playing in just above the relegation zone for Oxford, I got signed for Bradford City. We're third in the Championship. So it was a great move at the time because I was back in the north. My wife went back to Hull, while I tried getting a house in Leeds. My family then become happy again.
Yeah, like you say, it couldn't have been that much better than say Bradford being a team, one of the teams closest to Hull in terms of in the Championship, a high profile team, and going on that season to earn promotion as well. Obviously, you couldn't have imagined that, could you? The start of the campaign with Oxford, I guess. No,
not a chance. Not a chance. Listen, I even now, you go through bad times, but I always think that things happen for a reason. I always believe in my life that all good things come to an end, and that time in my life, I went to a Championship club who were on the up. Paul Jewell was a young manager. I always go back to the squad that we had. We had an unbelievable squad. They were playing well before I went there. Big Darren Moore at the back with John Jariah, Gary Walsh in goal, Stuart McCall, Gareth Wally, Peter Bakery, Jamie Lawrence, Robbie Blake, Lee Mills up front. I couldn't get in the team at first. I couldn't get in the team because Blakey and Millsy were scoring goals for fun. Paul Jewell pulled me in and says, "I brought you in to push these two. I want you to get in the team. This will keep these two up front on the toes." Isaiah Rankin was there from Arsenal, a young lad. So there were the four of us, and there were the front two. So the first sort of 6-7 months, I was coming off the bench, and then to get to the Premier League was just incredible. To beat Wolves last game of the season, to get automatic, and like I always say on the circuit, I never thought I could play in the Premier League ever in my dreams. Working on that building site, and then next minute you're playing in the Premier League against the best players in the world, and so it was an unbelievable journey. For Bradford to get in the Premier League was just incredible for the like Hull, for the city, and the open top bus parade and the scenes afterwards with with Stuart falling off the car, and it was just incredible occasion really. But that season again, the summer of that season, I didn't go on holiday. I constantly just trained, because I knew that the Premier League was so demanding. I knew that I had to be super fit, and I went back absolutely unbelievably fit. First season in the Premier League. What do you expect? You're going to expect a relegation fight, which Paul Jewell said at the start of the season. We finished fourth from bottom. We've had an unbelievable season. You're going to get beat by the Man U's and the Liverpools and Arsenals, but if we can win majority of our home games, that could keep us in the Premier League. The first game we beat Middlesbrough 1-0 at the Riverside, 2-1 at the Riverside. Which was incredible, and then the first home game I can remember it, we beat Chelsea 2-0. Me and Carbone. It was just an unbelievable journey, and at the end of the day, we finished fourth from bottom. It was just with David Weddle scoring the goal at Liverpool. But that season I just trained. I scored. The first season for Bradford, I scored 10 goals, which was an unbelievable achievement for myself. At one point, I think people were saying that you might get an England call up. Behave yourself. Wow. You had Robbie Fowler, Shearer, Sheringham, Andy Cole.
Yeah, it wasn't really an easy England team to get to back in.
It wasn't. No, not really. No, it wasn't. No, but it was just an unbelievable achievement by the football club, and again, I've been very fortunate in my career. Every team I've played for, the supporters have took to me. So, but that's because I was passionate. I give everything to the cause. And that's what supporters want to see. Yeah,
but I suppose if you think about it, I was speaking to Grant Holt a few months back, and he almost obviously got that England call up himself, and he played in a bit of a different era where there was sort of like a lack of number nines.
Yeah.
So you think you were quite unlucky, weren't you, really, to be playing in that sort of era where you saw the likes of like Robbie Fowler, for example, who didn't really get the amount of caps you thought a player of that ability should have got.
No, but that's just the way it is. When I played for Aberdeen, I got asked to, because I was scoring goals for Aberdeen, I got asked to play for Scotland under Craig Brown, but I didn't have any Scottish grandparents. And then I was at the PFA Awards, and I was with Mick McCarthy talking to Big Mick, and he asked me if I had any Irish ones, Republic of Ireland, and I went, yeah, I have. Just having a bit of banter. I always tell the story. I don't tell it on the circuit, but I ran my dad when, obviously my dad's passed away now, but I ran my dad up and I said, have I got any Scottish grandparents? And he says, why? I said, I've been asked to play for Scotland under Craig Brown. And he says, son, you're off Ezel Road in Hull. No. I went, all right then, no problem. So I rang my agent at the time and I says, can you tell Craig Brown I've got no Scottish grandparents? And then when I'm at this PFA award, I can remember speaking to Big Mick and he says, have you got any Irish grandparents? So I said yes, for a bit of banter, thinking now of it. So I rang my dad up and I said, Dad, have I got any Irish grandparents? He went, son, you're off Ezel Road in Hull. No, you haven't got any Irish grandparents. And I remember getting a phone call from Mick McCarthy's PA saying, could you send your information of your grandparents in Ireland? And I said, well, no, I was only winding Mick up. But if I'd have had that Irish grandparents, I could have been playing in that World Cup that year. So listen, that's just the way it is. That was just a bit bit of banter from my point of view. Listen, I knew that I wasn't good enough to play for England, so probably yes, if I'd have had the opportunity to play for Scotland or Ireland, I would have done, because everybody wants to play for the country, even though I've got grandparents, which I never had. So yeah, I'd have probably gone that way, but I didn't have either. I had English ones, but I wasn't good enough to play for England, so that was just the way it was. But Mick, I seen Mick, after that, and he was just saying, you'd got me there. Like, I was only messing about, but if I'd have had an Irish grandparent, yeah, I probably would have signed for Ireland, but I never. But that was just my humour, I think.
Well, maybe 10 years earlier, if you'd have said that, you might have been in luck.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
But if you look back to the first season in the Premier League again, how important were you to staying up? I mean, you mentioned there about your fitness. You ended the season with 10 goals. For a team that are struggling at the bottom, those goals are vital, aren't they?
Yeah, exactly. I always say like that. I want to get back into football as a coach or a manager. And Terry Venables, when he signed me, he always used to say, try picking a team that 5 lads are going to get you a goal on the pitch. I.e., your 2 wide men, your 2 centre forwards, and 1 midfield player. If you can get into double figures in any team, you're going to be up there. You're going to be near the playoffs, or you're going to. If you get 2 strikers in double figures, then you're going to be near automatic promotion. In them days, Bakery scored unbelievable goals on the left hand side. Jamie Lawrence chipped in with a few goals on the right hand side. Then you had Blake and Mills and Windass scoring double figures. We didn't really have that midfield player, because Gareth Wally and Stuart McCall were sort of like sitting midfield players. But Paul Jewell used to say, let the front 4 win the game for you, like Terry Venables did. Now, for me to score 10 goals in the Premier League, yeah, maybe did it keep us up, but we chipped in as well. There was a lot of lads who chipped in, centre halves coming from corners, getting goals. And so, yeah, it was important that, that season that I got 10 goals. Not saying that kept us in the Premier League, but, it helped us, because we won a few games which people didn't expect us to win. I remember John Dyer scoring a goal at Sunderland where we won 1-0, and that was a vital point in the season, where we had to win that game away at the Stadium of Light. So everybody sort of cheated in, but that season, yeah, I scored 10. So yeah, it did help us. Of course, it helped us. It was just incredible, to do that. But then, as you say, brought in the likes of David Weatherall and people like that. And Weathers obviously scored the winning goal at Valley Parade against Liverpool. So everybody chipped in. So that was important for us, really.
And then the season after wasn't obviously as successful for Bradford, but you got that move to Borough. What was that sort of, when you were at the peak of your powers, do you believe, when you got that move? Because obviously, that's a big football club up at Middlesbrough, isn't it?
Yeah, we came around. Obviously, Brian Robson was struggling with Middlesbrough, who were probably 4th, 5th from bottom. We were 3rd from bottom. My contract was running out with Bradford. It looked as though we were going to get relegated. And I look back at my career, and I've never been relegated as a player, because every time the club were getting relegated, they sold me to another club, and then Oxford United went down. Bradford went down. But we played Middlesbrough on a Wednesday night live on Sky, and I had a really good game. And Terry Venables was the man that come in to help Brian. And I always remember it coming off the pitch. We got beat 1-0, by a wonder goal by, I think it was Christine Carambeau, I think, who scored a worldie top corner, got beat 1-0. And I played really well in the game. And I remember coming down the tunnel, and Terry Venables was stood outside the Middlesbrough changing room. We had to walk by the Middlesbrough changing room, and he was shaking everybody's hand. And he shook my hand, and he says, "You was unlucky there. You was the best player on the park." I couldn't believe it. I want Terry Venables saying that to me. And I rang my agent up. I went and I told him what he said. And then a couple of weeks later, Terry Venables signed me. I was his first signing. For I can't remember what the fee was. I think $1 million, 1.5 million, $1 million, whatever it was. So, Bradford obviously got the money back. Unfortunately for Bradford fans, I got a bit of stick, because I had to go back and play at Valley Parade for Middlesbrough against Bradford. Got a bit of stick calling me a greedy whatever, which supporters do, but it's just the way it is. That's just the way it was. And subsequently, Bradford City got relegated that season, which was a shame. I would never wanted them to get relegated, but I moved on to a different life, different career, and obviously, Middlesbrough were fourth from bottom. And in the end, I scored 3 goals, and we finished 14th that season. And my biggest regret that I look back on my career is that I signed a 3-year contract with Terry Venables. He was the best coach or best manager I've ever worked under. His coaching philosophy, how we wanted us to play the game. And he says to me, "You remind me of Teddy Sheringham," and I went, "Why?" He said, "Because Teddy couldn't run either." And he said, "But I want you to play just in behind Alan Boxic as a number 10. Probably the best centre forward I've ever played with Alan Boxic." But as you say, you had Ince, Ekiog at the back, Gareth Southgate came in, so we had a good span of the team. Colin Cooper was a great centre half. So we finished 14th. But then Terry left. Terry left in the summer. He'd done his job. He'd done what he'd asked to do. He helped Brian. Obviously, then Brian resigned or left the football club. And then Steve McLaren came in. Steve McLaren had a 5-year plan. I wasn't in that 5-year plan, and like I said, football moves on. I knew Steve McLaren because I used to be a schoolboy at Hull City when Steve McLaren played for Hull City. Played against his teams when he was at Man United as assistant manager. Played against his teams when he was at Oxford United as assistant manager. So I knew Steve quite well. But he had a plan, and I wasn't in that plan, which was fine. That's just football. That's just, everybody's got an opinion about you. And I did play that season, but I was in and out all the time. And then, I wasn't in his plan. And, he says, look, if you can either get a loan move or whatever. And I ended up going to Sheffield United I went to Sheffield Wednesday on loan, which was a bit of a sour taste to the Sheffield Wednesday fans because I had a back injury. I shouldn't have really gone to Sheffield Wednesday. I was having injections in my back, and I shouldn't have gone. And I only played 2 games, and then my back was still playing me up. I went on a month's loan to Sheffield Wednesday, and I shouldn't have gone really. I played 2 games, and then I had to go back because I wasn't fit. I went back to Sheffield to Middlesbrough, got my treatment, got fit again. Played in the FA Cup against Chelsea, the famous, smashing Cudicini in the net and getting him sent off. But then Steve says to me, obviously not in my plans, and I ended up going to Sheffield United, and I went there till the end of the season.
Yeah, and then the return to Bradford came about, didn't it? How much had the club changed since you were there the first time? I mean, you continued your in terms of your statistics, you were still performing very well, but the club was different, wasn't it? Yeah,
I was 35, 36 at the time. And Nicky Lowe was the manager. Got a phone call when I was in Portugal saying that they want you to go back. I was a bit sceptical about it. Shall I go back? But I thought, well, I was still living in the area, still living 10 miles outside Bradford, and I thought, yeah, it's the right time. Unfortunately for Nicky Lowe, the club was struggling financially as well. Nicky got the sack, and then Brian Robson came in with Colin Todd, and obviously played under Brian at Middlesbrough. So me and Brian got on really, really well. Started performing really well, started playing well, but then the club were on the verge of going back into administration. Brian left, Brian resigned, Colin Todd took over, and I wouldn't have played till I was 40 if it wouldn't have been for Colin Todd, because he sustained my career really. He was a very good friend of mine. I ended up taking the reserves, doing the coaching, started to do my coaching qualifications. taking the warm-ups for the first team. Started taking the reserves on a Wednesday night, which I really enjoyed. He gave me that that sort of pressure to go on to the next level, but I was still performing at the highest level for the first team lads, scoring 20 goals a season. But the club were going to go back into administration, and Paul Jewell came in for me at Wigan, offered me a massive contract, but I declined. I declined it. I felt as though I couldn't play in the Premier League at the age of 36, 37. Toddy pulled me in. He said, "What do you want to do?" I said, "Well, I don't think." He said, "Do what's right for you." And I didn't sign, and then they offered me another 2-year contract, so that took me to 37, 38. And then the club then were going to go back into administration. The club went into administration first time. Then the second time, they couldn't afford to do that. And then they sold me to Hull for a 350 grand loan deal under Phil Brown.
I suppose that was a no-brainer for you at the time, going to Hull, of course, with your family connections and your connections.
Yeah, well, I got the phone call from Julian Rhodes, who was a very good friend of mine, the chairman. We had a great relationship. I used to play tennis with Julian. Still have a great relationship now. And he rang me up and he says, "Look, we're going to have to sell you because we can't afford to go back into administration. You've got a choice." And I went, "What's the choices?" And he went, "Sunderland under Roy Keane or Phil Brown at Hull City." And yeah, it was a no-brainer. My dad was still alive at the time. My mum lived in Hull. Brother lived in Hull, still live in Hull. And I could travel over to Hull, from Leeds. The first season, Hull City were in the bottom half of the Championship. Phil Parkinson got the sack. Phil Brown took over. I met him, and he says I'd scored 12 goals for Bradford. I was top goal scorer for Bradford, and I'd scored 20 goals the season before. And he asked me the question, "How many goals do you think you get from now to the end of the season?" I says, "Well, I got 20 last season. If I score 8 this season, from January up to the end of the season, that'll keep Hull City in the Championship." And my 8th goal was against Cardiff City. We won 1-0. I scored the goal, and Hull City stayed in the Championship. So yeah, for me, it was just an unbelievable journey.
I think that goal at the time relegated Leeds as well, didn't it? It effectively kept Hull City up, that goal against Cardiff.
Yeah, I got a little bit of stick. Living in Leeds. So it was just one of them situations where, yeah, it was just. I remember being on the pitch at the end of the game, waiting on the Leeds result. I remember all the Hull City fans. Listen, for me, I remember jumping in the supporters behind the goal when I scored the goal at Cardiff, and all my mates were there. My brother-in-law was there. I remember jumping on, and my mates from Leeds were behind the goal, and so yeah, it was quite emotional. But then waiting afterwards to see what the results was elsewhere to keep us up. So yeah, on the coach on the way back was an unbelievable achievement for me to score the goal, to come back and score 8 goals, which I'd said I'd do. And Phil Brown said, I actually said to Phil afterwards, I can't believe I said it. But yeah, it was a great achievement for Phil, because Phil then obviously, got a new contract. They offered me another 2-year contract, which took me to 39-year-old.
Could you believe that you were being offered these contracts at your age? Because you see it nowadays, with like Chelsea's policy of where they don't offer players over a certain age more than a 1-year deal. It's kind of unheard of now, isn't it?
Yeah, well, the chairman at the time was Alan Pearson, so it was just like, listen, I always wanted to go back to Hull, but for some known reason, Peter Taylor didn't like me, Phil Parkinson didn't like me. Always spoke to Adam on the phone. So basically, in the early days, every time that Hull City never scored and I scored for Bradford, it was always in the papers, bring Windass back. Not me saying it, it was just obviously the media. And so I used to speak to Adam, get me back. But obviously the managers at the time didn't. But Phil took a chance. At the age of 37, he took a chance. That chance paid off. Stayed up. Phil got a new contract, so that helped Phil. Hull City stayed in the Championship, that helped Hull City. But for me to go back and to achieve that was just I never thought my life would get any better. To keep Hull City, not me to keep Hull City, but for us to stay in the Championship was, it was just a massive achievement for the football club. Bear in mind what Peter Taylor had done for the football club by jumping from divisions to stay in the Championship was just a great achievement for the football club. And then obviously the next year was just, you couldn't rate it.
Yeah, and just to go through that, I mean, the game at Wembley itself, did you feel there was something special in the air at the time when you were going to face Bristol City? Did you feel it was like your time, I suppose?
No, not then. I didn't. Not then. I didn't. Listen, we had like the Bradford days when we stayed up at Bradford in the Premier League. We had a great change room. The change room managed itself. We had leaders in the team. Ashby come right through the leagues, captain the club right through. Right to the Premier League. I look at the spine of the team. Phil Brown brought in Wayne Brown. Michael Turner was already there, just a young lad coming through. Bowes Mahill, the goalkeeper. Then we had Ashby. Brian Hughes came into the football club. Nicky Barmby played for England, local lad. Dean Windass, Fraser Campbell coming from Man United, young boy at the age of 19, will become on to be a revelation. So we had a great change rooms. Phil didn't have to do anything. The change room managed itself. We had some great characters. So that is why, not because Dean Windass scored a goal at Wembley, it wasn't about me. It was about the group. And I always say that the supporters, 25,000 at the KC was just, in the playoffs against Watford, and you go to Wembley. Listen, it's a one-off game. And I always say I watch the Champions League game. There's never great spectacles because there's that much at stake. Championship finals, playoff finals, they're never great games because nobody wants to lose because of the financial implications now. So they're never classics. But Steve McLaren always used to say, one defining moment wins a game of football. And on that day, he was looking down on me. I don't believe in God, I don't believe in him, but he was looking down on me. And I said the week before, I said to Phil Brown, I'll score the winning goal that takes us in the Premier League. And he went, I believe you. And he went, and don't get me wrong, I was 39-year-old, so I never played week in, week out. I knew Phil monitored me very well. He used to say you can't play 2 games in a week, which I couldn't. But I trained every day. He used to say, every day off. No, I want to train. And it was hard training. The runs that we used to do was hard. But I tried staying up there. I tried staying up with the running. And I had not a bad injury, but I did my cartilage, and I was out for 6 or 7 weeks before the playoff. So I didn't think that I'd ever get back fit again. And I got myself back fit. And I remember Phil saying to me, just give me an hour. Just give me an hour, 65 minutes. And then I'll bring Callum Fallon on, because there was me, Callum, and Fraser Campbell. Now, us three had great relationship. Unbelievable relationship. Now, if I didn't play on the Tuesday night, Callum and Fraser was the number one choice. And then me and Callum was either I played up front with Fraser, played for an hour, then Callum would come on. So I was 39, I couldn't play 90 minutes. And Phil said to me, just give me 65 minutes. I went, I'll score the winning goal before I come off. And I said that to him in training. He went, I believe you. He said, but don't get injured this week. You are starting. But then I'm going to, obviously good managers have a game plan. They make subs at the right time. And obviously, you couldn't rate it. 39th minute. 39-year-old. Probably the best strike I've ever hit all season. And it goes in the top corner. And, it changed my life, for everybody. And, I was saying, that we got a massive win bonus for it. Probably paid people's mortgages off. So it changed people's lives in the change rooms. It changed people's lives on the terraces. It was just an unbelievable knock-on effect for businesses in the city. And I always remember it come to 65 minutes. Can't remember if I come off the 71st or whatever. And I remember looking at the bench and they're putting the board up. I remember putting the board up to make a substitution. I thought, thank God for that. I'm absolutely shattered here. I'm knackered and I want to, I've done my bit. Come on then, Callum, you come on now. And he was an athlete, was Forlan, and I thought then he can run in the channels and get us up the pitch, and then all of a sudden the number 8 board come up, and Nicky Barmby come off, because Nicky was 34, 35 at the time, and as Nicky ran by me, I went, "Have a word, will you? It's supposed to be me, not you." And he went, "Yeah, I will." And I looked over at the bench, and Phil sort of went, "2 more minutes." And he always used to send me across the pitch. I knew when I was coming off, so he'd go walk over to the left-hand side of the pitch, because it takes quite a while to walk off the pitch. Sort of a bit of a time-wasting thing. And as I looked across the bench, he looked at to say, "Yeah, I know you want to come off." And then he brought me off. And I remember me and Nicky sat on the bench at the end of the game. And it was a situation where the referee had put 3 minutes out of his on time. It was Wiley, the referee, was the referee. And Mark Prudhoe was always the goalkeeper. He was our goalkeeper coach. And every time that the referee put any time on, he put it on his stopwatch so he could tell Phil how long left. And I remember Barnes, I had my arm around Nicky, and I kept saying, "Pruds, how long? He was going 2 minutes. And I kept, "Please, referee, please blow the whistle, please." I remember Brian Hughes getting a free kick on the edge of the box. I'm thinking, please just bend it in the top corner, and then that's it, we're promoted. And Yoza, he bends it over the bar. And then the gaffer looked at Pruds and said, "How long left?" He went, a minute. I was, please blow the whistle. And then when Nick said to me, when he blows that whistle, I remember Bo Smile catching the ball from across. And I knew that it was all over. And Nicky says to me, when he blows that whistle, we're running towards the supporters. And I always tell the story, it was the quickest I'd run all afternoon, I think. And I just broke down crying. I just couldn't believe what everybody achieved. You know, not just me personally as a scoring the goal. It didn't matter who scored the goal, and I mean that sincerely. It didn't matter. As long as we won that game of football in that 90 minutes, that was the main priority for me as a local boy, and for the football club and the supporters. And for us to achieve that was just insane. It was just like, couldn't believe it. Could not believe it. God, I must have cried for a month. I just got, every time I had a drink, I was crying. I just couldn't believe what had happened. And it was a great knock-on effect for the city.
And of course, you touched on it there in terms of the celebrations. Of course, there's the famous shots of you in Hull city centre as well, celebrating on the balcony. Of course, looking back at that now, what was that experience like? Being a Hull City supporter yourself, and at the end of your career having that.
Just what dreams are made of, mate. I'm talking to you now, and I can see the picture across my bedroom. I can see me standing on the balcony, and the supporters, and everything. The day, the open top bus. Listen, I've drank around Hull. I'm a local boy. I go around, around Hull now, and driving by my local pubs, and I remember a girl jumping in front of the bus. I know the bus was driving pretty slow, and it was a girl who I went to school with. And she got her breasts out in front of the coach. She'd lift her top up, and everybody could see her breasts, and shouting, "Dino, I love you," and this and that. I went to school with this girl, for Christ's sake. It was just unbelievable. But I always say now, it wasn't about Dean Windass that day. It was about the full group. I couldn't have done it on my own that season. Couldn't have done it on my own. Yes, I scored. Me and Fraser again, going back to the double figures. Me and Fraser had a bet who was going to be top goal scorer. He was on 15, I was on 14. And my 15th goal was at Wembley. So it was just one of them where, it was just incredible how, Michael Turner scored goals from set pieces, and, Ian Ashby scored goals from set pieces, and, it was Richard Garcia on the right-hand side talking about Jamie Lawrence and Peter Bakery. Brian Hughes then played on the left, getting goals. Nicky Barmby coming in and getting goals. So there was goals, so it was a collective thing. So, but around the open top bus, because being a local boy, it was quick. Listen, I'm quite a shy. If you're going to laugh at me, I'm quite a shy lad, really, when it comes to all like that. And I'm quite a quiet lad in the house. My missus will tell you I don't really say much. And it's one of them where they had the Dino masks And I remember Brian Hughes on the open top bus, and he was saying, "This is for you, this." I went, no, it's for all of us. So I didn't want it to be all about me. It was about all of us. You know, people who cooked your food at the ground, the fitness coach, the staff, the goalkeeping coaches. You know, everybody collected with a football club. So yeah, it was just great for me. Changed my life. You know, for the good and the bad. And it was, you know, they're the great memories that I'll have for the rest of my life till the day I die. And, you know, I've had a wonderful career, and you have ups and downs, but, you know, nobody can take that away from me that day. Nobody can take, you know, 24th of May 2008 can never ever take that day away from me. You know, you're on social media now, people show the goal on Twitter every bloody day, I think. And just talking to you then about the open top bus, you know, on the balcony filling up now. You know, it's just quite an emotional person, and for us to do that, unbelievable.
Do you think that'll ever change for you? Do you think you'll always be like that looking back at it?
What, crying every time I talk about it? Yeah, probably will, yeah. You know, it was just unbelievable. You know, what happened in my life, really. It was just so emotional for everybody. It was just, you know, for Hull City to get to the Premier League was just an unbelievable achievement. And obviously gone on to be a Premier League team and playing in the FA Cup final. So people say if you want to be in Phil, you're the one who achieved that. I don't believe that, because the next season Hull City might have got to the Premier League if they'd got beat by Bristol City. I don't believe that for 1 minute, that my goal took the club to the next level. Yeah, of course it did, but it never, you know, if I wouldn't have scored that goal, would Hull City ever got back into the Premier League? Who would have known?
But you never know as well. In the year before, you scored, like we mentioned earlier, you scored that goal against Cardiff to keep Hull up. And obviously, if Hull didn't stay up, they wouldn't have had that chance in the playoff final the following year. So, you know, you can look at it that way as well, I suppose. Yeah,
you can, but surely some buts, isn't it? Do you know what I mean? You don't live on ifs and buts, you live on reality. And, you know, the reality was, you know, we got to the Premier League. You know, one defining, like I said to you there, not the best game in the world, but one defining moment. I always say, I think that, you know, now Bristol City were a better team than us on the day, but they never took the chances. You know, they never took the clear-cut chances. I remember Gary Johnson, the manager, saying, for one bit of brilliance in the game, has won the game. Now, it could have gone the other way, but it didn't. They never took the chances, we did. We took one chance. I think we had one chance, and that was the defining moment in the game. And so, but on the day, you know, another biggest regret that I ever did, or what I've ever had, is I didn't get to shake the Bristol City lads' hands because everything was going off so quickly. You know, so I regret not shaking. You know, Lee Trundle, who was a good friend of mine who played up front, Kelly Adebola, who was a good friend of mine who played up front for Bristol City. Never got the opportunity to shake their hand afterwards to say sorry, because it's probably the worst feeling in the world getting beat out. You know, I don't think you ever recover from that. So one big regret that I never, you know, got to shake people's hands. But all the emotion of the game and the celebrations, you just sort of lose yourself a little bit. But you know, God bless him now. Pete Skipper just passed away. One of my best friends just passed away, and me and Skip used to run the ex-Tigers, and we had a reunion against the Bristol City lads, and there was 6 or 7 of them lads who played in that game. They beat us 3-0, by the way. And I actually said sorry to a few of them. You know, McAllister was there and a few other lads who played in the game, and I sort of apologised to say, look, I'm really sorry that, you know, it was quite rude of me that, you know, I never came up and shook your hand, and they said we understood the situation. We'd probably done the same thing. But, you know, that's just football, and, you know, you move on from it, and that's what we did.
And, of course, you moved on again to the Premier League, of course.
Yeah, I just think. Listen, looking back now, maybe I should have retired. after the goal.
Well, there'd have been no better way to retire, I suppose,
Yeah.
looking back. But you never know what could have happened in that Premier League season, I suppose. If you did get, you might have had another big moment if you had the chance, I suppose.
Yeah, but listen, Phil said to me, and again, I had a few weeks off, 2 or 3 weeks off, but then I started running again. I started training, so I knew it would be demanding as a 39-year-old. But I went back pre-season fit as I've ever been. I remember going to Italy and it was a tough training session. Phil's pre-season was tough, but I was still up there with the running. I was still, it was just incredible how. And he pulled me and went, I can't believe your fitness at that level of your age. And he says, look, you know that you're not going to play, but you make a big impact in the change rooms. You'll be on the bench, and yes, you might come on, you might not. So I understand the rules. I knew what was going on. So, the season that I was there, it went a bit sour in the end. We ended up, I remember starting against Manchester City when Phil kept us out on the pitch, losing the game 4-1. It was 3-0 down after half time, and we were fourth in the Premier League with 26 points. I knew I wasn't going to play, but he said to me, you're starting against Man City, me and Marlon King. And we had a big row, at half time. But it was one of them situations where I'd come on against Portsmouth, I'd scored against Portsmouth, we drew 2-2. Then the silly little thing when I got booked against Stoke, when Rory Dillap was messing about with Rory when he was taking a long throw in. Then I played in the Man City game and he kicked off really, and I never played then. It's sort of what me and Phil sort of had a bit of a fallout. And I knew my career was coming to the end. I knew. And he started then not putting me on the bench. Then we had a big row in the change rooms. That's between me and him. I would never disclose that. And basically, my Hull City career come to an end, really. And I ended up going to... I got asked to go to Doncaster Rovers on loan under Sean O'Driscoll. I'm coming to 40-year-old. I looked at the Championship. Doncaster were bottom of the Championship, and I thought, I don't want to be in a relegation scrap really at the age of 40. Coming to the age of 40. And Mark Crosley rang me up. Mark, who was my roommate at Middlesbrough, and he was at Oldham as a goalkeeping coach, and John Sheridan was the manager. Oldham was probably 45 minutes from where I lived. And Big Norm says, look, just come here and try to get us in the playoffs. I was still fit at the time, but when you drop down the divisions, it becomes a little bit harder. Not being disrespectful to the players at Oldham at that time, but you're on a different wavelength. Yes, you can't run around as much as you used to, so you're getting young kids to run around you. But it was tough, and maybe that was a bad decision. Maybe I should have just stayed training with Hull till the end of the season and then retired at the end of the season. But you make choices in your life. I wanted to carry on playing, of course I did. And maybe I could have played for another year at the age of 40. But I just thought I didn't enjoy it at Oldham. Sort of struggled. Had a bit of a fallout with John Sheridan. Obviously now me and Shez are good friends. Played golf with Shez and no animosity whatsoever. That's one thing with me, is that you have a row and then that's it, you move on. And he ended up going back to Hull really. It didn't work out at Oldham. I ended up going back to Hull training, and then Phil said, look, just stay at home, you don't need to come in. Obviously you're not going to be in because I'd signed till the end of the season, so I couldn't play for Hull anyway because I'd signed to the end of the season. He said instead of travelling every day, 69 mile a day, just stay at home. You're still getting paid till the end of July. And I rang my agent up and said I'm going to retire at the end of the season, and that's when the announcement came out.
But looking back now, I guess one of the biggest regrets was actually doing your autobiography the year before all of it happened in terms of your promotion, wasn't it? I guess.
Yeah. I obviously did my autobiography when I was playing for Bradford. Got asked to do it. I didn't want to do it. I wasn't really, prepared for it really. But it was a tough thing. I can actually announce now that I'm bringing another one out now as we speak. The title is going to be Dean or Life After Football, which is very, very tough for being asked to do it. But that period of my life, it was probably the right time to do an autobiography. And then obviously the lad who was doing it, he says, "Do you want to do a follow up from it?" Obviously, because I'd done my autobiography, then things happened at Wembley, and said, "Do you want to do a follow up?" So I did a follow up for it with a paperback. So yeah, it was. I didn't want to do one. I didn't want to. I don't know if anybody else or whoever you've interviewed who've done autobiographies. For me, it's bloody hell. It's the stressfulest thing in the world. Talking about, reminiscing about when you was a kid and this, that, and the other, and your parents getting divorced, and bloody hell, every Wednesday I was in floods of tears every Wednesday, and I'm doing the same now. I'm in floods of tears every time I do it now with Phil Marshall, and who's writing the book for me, and then obviously we'll get the publisher to whoever who's going to do, but it's just one of them situations where you get asked to do it, and I thought, well, why not? I've got nothing to lose now. I've gone through a bit of a bad time in diversity in my life at the minute, and you just got to try and make the most of it, really. And so yeah, it's been an up and down 20 years. After retiring, I went as assistant manager with Colin Todd at Darlington, which didn't work out. We didn't have the money. I really enjoyed the role. I enjoyed the coaching. I enjoyed speaking to agents. It's a different side of the game. People don't realise how different it is when you're in the office and people are ringing, my player's the best player in the world. But it didn't work out for me and Colin. Colin resigned. I ended up leaving the club, and then started working for Soccer Saturday for 2 years, and which I really enjoyed working for Sky. I loved it. I loved going around games, commentating, getting a few things wrong. But that's just my makeup, really.
I've pulled out this morning some questions from Hull City fans and Bradford City fans, and the big question that's coming back from them all is about Hull City, and obviously your tweet that you put out about the manager's position, which is obviously available now.
Yeah.
Is that serious? Is that something that you would want to do now?
Yeah, listen, I've just been relieved of my duties as an ambassador. The club don't want to do it anymore, and I've made a few mistakes as well as an ambassador. I'm an honest man, mate. I don't pull any punches. I've made a few mistakes, but you learn from the mistakes. I've been at the club 4 years as an ambassador. Absolute privilege. The owners of the football club have been absolutely unbelievable towards me. And I put out the tweet because, I was serious. I want to get back in football. I want to get back on the grass. I want to, my football intelligence and my knowledge of the game. I know the game's moved on, but I'm telling this now. If the club rang me up and said, "Do you want to come as an interviewer, as a manager?" I'd crawl there. I would crawl there. Like I said, I'd crawl to be. Listen, that football club's in my blood. I always will be until the day I die. And, so if I ever got the opportunity, of course I would. Listen, they'll go down a different road, I'm quite sure. Somebody tweeted me saying, we'd love Dino to be the manager, but has he got the experience? Well, I tweeted, well, did Frank Lampard have any experience this season? No. He just got through into it. All Dean Windass wants is an opportunity. All Dean Windass was like Phil Brown, giving him that chance. If you fail, you fail. But I tell you what, I'd give it 1,000,000% that I'd do my best to try and achieve what people want you to achieve, and I'd work tirelessly to do that. It's just getting that opportunity. It's just getting that step on the ladder to know how you apply for jobs when they come up. To know in either non-league or League Two or League One or Championship. And if it's right for Dean Windass to apply for that job, then yeah. Listen. I'm an honest lad. I know the rules. I know what goes on. But I put the tweet out because I want to be part of it. I want to be part of Hull City. I want to be part of the coaching staff. And if you got the opportunity to be a manager, you'd be daft not to say no. But it's just one of them situations. Do you ever get the opportunity? In my opinion, I don't think I would get the opportunity at this time, at this stage of Hull City's sort of situation with Nigel leaving, and obviously a lot of grievances with the owners and whatever. So But going back to the owners, they say the football club in a sense. And I've got a great affinity with Assam and Iab. They'll always be my friend, whatever's gone on at the football club. But you move on. Like I say, things happen for a reason in life, and all good things come to an end. And my ambassador job's come to an end. Obviously, I'm looking to do other things now. See what happens. But I've got to move on with my life. I've gone through a diversity in my life, and I've got to get back up. And I'm trying my best to do that.
What would it mean to you though after the difficult time that you've gone through, that's been well documented after your playing career, to get a chance, to get an opportunity to be able to be even considered for a role like that Hull City manager's job? What would that mean to you personally?
Yeah, I just think that you get tired with a brush. You get tired with a brush, in the sense that, he's been to rehab, he's tried to commit suicide, he's been drinking, he's done it. Listen, people don't know who Dean Windass is. At the end of the day, judge me for what I am. Don't judge me for what I was. As you say, I'd crawl there. To be part of, any part of the staff or any part of the football club. If it's a chief scout, if it's anything, just to be a part of it. But you've got to have that opportunity. But you get tired with the stigma of he's being a drinker and he's what? Not at all. I'll go for a pint with anybody. Like I say, in the early days, at the right times. I know if you ever become a manager, you've got to change. You've got to change the way you are. I'd be very, very strict. I would be very, very strict as a manager because that's what you have to do. Fitness is the key. Like you say, last week I did what? 36, 37 miles on the treadmill. 7 miles a day on the treadmill. And people see me in the gym, 50-year-old running like you're running. Because I don't want to put weight on. I don't want to look, when you go on TV and television looks, you put 10 pounds on you on television, everybody goes, you get tweets going, oh, you fat this, you fat that. Well, I'm 50-year-old, for bloody God's sake. You're going to put a bit of weight on, of course you are, but I'm not. My missus, got a nutrition business. I do that every day. I take shakes and try keeping myself right every day. But don't get me wrong, I go for a pint on the weekend with my pals. Yes, I still get a lot of attention. Yes, people come up to me. Yes, I'm still in the public eye. Yes, people still judge you. But I've got to live my life. I've got to I'm just a snotty-nosed kid from Ezra Road in Hull. And I go in local pubs where people don't go because they leave me alone. They don't. Now, if I venture out them local pubs, then I get pestered by people coming up to me, which is nice. I always say it's nice to be important, but it's more important to be nice, and that's how I've lived my life. And I know the rules. I know when I'm walking down the street, people recognise me. I know, not just in Hull, everywhere around the country, because I've played football for 20 years. I've worked for Sky Sports, for people recognise you on the television. So I know the rules, but some people are very judgmental of Dean Windass. And that sometimes hurts me because I'm not that person. I'm the nicest person. I will give my last pound coin to anybody. I'll buy anybody a pint. I've gone through bankruptcy. I've gone through divorce. The bankruptcy was no fault of my own through the film industry, which I invested in. But I don't want nobody to feel sorry for me. I don't want nobody to go, oh, Dean's it. I'll get up and go to work. If I had to now, and somebody offered me a job on a building site and they had to pay me rent or me whatever, I'd do it because you have to earn money to survive. And that's the way it is. I've lost my job at Hull City. Another one closes, another one opens. If it's on the grass, coaching for Hull City or being a manager for Rochdale or whatever, or Mansfield, or whoever comes around and I get that opportunity, I'll grab it with both hands. But please don't judge Dean Windass from his past. Judge Dean Windass what is. And that's all I ask, really. Get that opportunity, you get it. If you don't, you don't.
And looking at obviously you've seen so much of that whole squad though yourself. What would you do with that current team? Because obviously you know a lot about it, don't you?
Yeah, but the trouble is now, obviously, with what's happening at the football club, Nigel Atkins leaving his post. I don't know the financial implications, what's gone on. None of my business. I'm not interested in that. I assume that you're going to lose 5 or 6 players. Until you're in that environment, until you know what budget you're going to get, or what players you can sign, or what players you can't sign, you can't make that judgment or decision until you're in that environment. I don't know who's going to be the manager of Hull City. I'm sure the owners have got a list. There's been a few names branding about, but until this new manager comes in, until we know who's going to leave, I'm sure that Jared Bowen will probably leave the football club, who's had an unbelievable season last year. Camille Riziki, Marshall, Fraser Campbell. So you're going to lose some good players. Are you allowed to replace them players? I don't know the answer to that. Until if I got in front of the main men and got that opportunity, then you ask that question. But I'm not in a position to ask that question. So whoever the next manager is, I hope and pray that the club can bring in good players to sustain the championship status, or like Nigel did last year, get in the playoffs. I remember speaking on the stage December, we were bottom of the league, and the next minute I was speaking on the stage, can we win today to get in the playoffs? It was just a crazy season, but that's the championship all over. So at the end of the day, whoever comes into the football club, if it's Dean Windass, which I don't think it will be, if it's whoever, I actually hope that the club sustain the championship status, because that's what this city needs. Premier League football or Championship football. Whatever goes on off the field has got nothing to do with me. Everybody's got opinions about people. I don't judge people. I like people who if they're good. My dad used to say to me, if they're nice to you, you're nice to them. If they don't like you, don't talk to them. And that's my philosophy in life. And whatever happens with the football club, I sincerely hope it works out.
And I suppose it would really cap off the Dean Windass story, wouldn't it? If you did get that opportunity, I suppose.
Listen, it's as you say, it's what dreams are made of, isn't it? But will you get that opportunity? In my opinion, I don't think I would. But that's just the way football is. If you don't ask the question or you don't throw your hat into the ring, you're never going to know. I throw my hat in the ring. Everybody, listen, the owners know how passionate I am about the football club. Whatever's gone on in my life, everybody knows what I feel about the football club. As you say, you have some ups and downs. I've had some ups and downs in the job. I've had my opinions. Some people don't like the opinion. But maybe, as again, like going back to the earlier interview, maybe I've been so honest for my own good and it doesn't stand you in good stead. You've got to be. But I'm never going to change the way I am. You can change the way that you act. But when you're in a role and position of a responsibility, then you change your mindset. You change the way that you are. Unless you get that opportunity, then you're never going to know how you're going to do. How do you get that experience? I got in the final 3 of the Bradford City job when I applied for the job and went for an interview, and the owners was I think pleasantly surprised how I did the interview and how I conducted myself. Unfortunately, Peter Taylor got the job. They went for experience, but it didn't work because Peter Taylor struggled. Would it have worked if Dean Windass got the job? Again, it's all ifs and buts. Not got a clue. Until you get thrown in the deep end, until you get judged, until you get the opportunity, then make an opinion. Don't make an opinion on something that you've never done. But life's about opinions.
Well, hopefully, Dean, next time we're talking to you, you maybe are the manager of Hull City. And but once again, thank you very much for speaking to us on the EFL podcast, and thank you for your time, and good luck in whatever path your career after football goes in next.
I appreciate it. Thanks very much. Sorry for crying.
The official EFL podcast. The best reaction to all the match action. Available every week.